Hey bass players! This video is a review of all of the basics. Get it? If you've taken a little break from playing or you want to go back and review some of the things that you learned at the very beginning of your playing, this is a good video to watch. So to get started, let's review how to hold your bass and your bow. So let's do this standing. You want to find this corner of your bass. So you've got your strings right here. This is the right side of my instrument. I'm finding the back corner. And I want to balance that kind of right here in between my belly button and my hip. So kind of right here. Right like that. And your bass should be at a height where when you put your first finger down in first position, it's kind of like eye level, right? And you also want to make sure it's not too straight like that, and it's not too bent over like that, right? And find that place right where it kind of rests easily. It's at like just a bit of an angle towards you. Now let's remember how to hold our bows. So take your thumb, your right thumb, and you're going to place it right here. So kind of where your frog meets this part of your bow. You're going to put your thumb right in there, and it should hit kind of the corner of your nail right here. So place that in there, and then these fingers are going to kind of like fall over a little bit. You should be able to like lift these ones up and then lift these ones up. These two should kind of rest right on that frog, and your pinky rests on the stick, and this one rests right there, kind of wraps around a little bit. And you want to make sure that your arm, when you place your bow down, has a bit of a curve in your wrist and is never quite like straight. You never want it straight, and you never want it like this, right? So always curved a little bit that way. And when you bring your bow this way, watch how I don't keep my arm at the same angle, right? I don't do this. I adjust my arm as the bow moves. So my elbow straightens, my wrist straightens up a little bit, and then when I go in like this, my elbow bends and my wrist kind of bends as well. And that is to try to keep your bow parallel to the bridge, right? You don't want it like that. You don't want it too much like that. You want it pretty parallel. So let's put the bow down again for a second. Let's review how to tune your bass, right? So you want to find an app or a website that has a free tuner. Or if you want to pay for one. The paid ones usually do work better. I personally use an app on the iPhone called Tunable. I think I paid like $3 for it, but it works really well. It tells you, so it's got one line in the middle, and if you're to the left of the line, you're flat, and if you're to the right of the line, you're sharp, and if you're on the line, you're just right. So that's my favorite kind of tuner, because it reads it for you. But another thing that you can do is Google a drone. So you can do G drone, and it'll play the sound of a G for you, and then you have to use your ear to line up the pitch, right? So when you are lining up the pitch, let's think. So clockwise on the G and D strings, clockwise. Clockwise makes it more sharp. Counterclockwise. You know what? I have that wrong. If you're looking at it, clockwise makes it more flat. Counterclockwise makes it more sharp. That's right. And you can hear that as you're playing it. So. And first you want to double check to make sure your hand is on the right peg, because it can be really frustrating if you tune a string and then you go to tune the next string and then your hand's still on the same peg, and then you end up messing up what you just did, right? So always double check that. Next, let's go over finding notes on the bass. So remember how to pluck, right? So let's take one or two fingers, kind of pull the string to the side. So quiz quiz yourself really quick and see if you can remember what the 4 string names are, right? So pause the video while you think about it. And when you're ready for the correct answer, the 4 string names are G, D, A, and E, right? And we know that the higher you place your finger on the string, the higher in pitch you hear. And we know that our notes go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on and so forth. So when you have an open string, if you go above that, you've got to learn your half steps and your whole steps, right? So D, a half step above D is D sharp. A half step above D sharp is E. Half step above E is F. Half step above F is F sharp. Half steps always go up about the same distance. The distance gets a little closer together the higher you get, but in general, when we're just sticking down here, this distance of like your first finger to your second finger is always a half step. And our hand hold for our left hand, let's review that really quick. You want to make sure your thumb is resting kind of right on the back, maybe even a little bit on the side that's closer to your body. But you always want to make sure your thumb has a curve to it. You don't want to let your thumb collapse like that, or else it's going to cause pain later down. You also want to make sure that your elbow is not too high up, right? You don't want to play like this, but it should not be resting on your bass. So always double check that your elbow is kind of just like hanging out back here. You should have like a 90-degree angle right here. Yeah, so periodically throughout your playing, take a look at your hand and make sure that your thumb is on the back, that you're not gripping your neck, right? And that your elbow is up, right? All right, so we reviewed how to find notes, how to hold your bass. Let's go on and do a little note reading quiz. Yeah. So how this is going to work, I'm going to say a note to you, and then you're going to pause this video while you find 2 places, or 1 if I say so, on your bass in first position, so not shifting up here. So we're just talking about these notes that are half step up from your open strings, and first position is a half step above that. So in first position, your first finger should rest on F sharp, B, E, or A. So I'm going to read you a note, you're going to pause the video, you're going to find that note, and then when you're ready for the correct answer, you're going to play the video and I'll show you where it is. So your first note is G. Find 2 places on your bass in first position to play G. So pause. And when you're ready for the correct answer, here's 1 place to play G, of course your open G. And another place to play G is second finger in first position on your E string. Hear how that's the same note, just in different octaves? G. So moving on, our next note is F sharp. And if you remember your scale, F sharp is just a half step down from G. So find 2 places to play an F sharp. Okay, pause. And when you're ready for the correct answer, 1 place to play F sharp, so that one of those G's was right here with your second finger. So that F sharp is just first finger on your E string, right? And then if we go 2 strings over and a whole step up, so on our D string, whole step above that, whole step above that. Here's our F sharp on D string with our 4th finger. All right, note number 3 is B. Find 2 places in first position where you can play B. Pause the video. And when you're ready to see where that is, right here on the A string, so A, whole step above that, B. And then another place is with 4th finger on your G string, so not shifting your hand. Right there. right, last but not least, this one, just find one place where you can play C on your bass. Okay, so pause. And when you're ready, one place to play C is a half step above that first place where we found B, is right here, second finger on your A string. Right there. So give yourself a little pat on the back if you got all of those right. Good job. Next we're going to go on and play a G major scale. Now for this we're going to incorporate our bow. And this should be, you should have the notes for this in the document that is included with this video, so go ahead and pull that up. If you have a computer where you can split the screen and see like the document and the video at the same time, that's super awesome. Or if you have a phone to watch the video on and a laptop to pull the document up on, that's another great way to do this. But really whatever works best for you and what you have available at the time. So let's look at this document. It should say like double bass review course lesson 1, something like that. So let's practice using our bow really quick before we try this. Let's just take our open G string and let's do 4 notes. I'm going to count quarter notes and we're going to play 4 long notes, okay, on just open G. And remember that bow hold, you have your thumb bent right there. You've got these fingers flopping down over and you've got this kind of a hold in your arm. Okay, so 4 notes on G. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good job. I remember that I have to tighten my bow hair a little bit. Always remember to loosen your bow hair, so counterclockwise at the end of each playing session, and tighten your bow hair before each playing session. When you tighten it, you should be able to slide your finger along the stick without touching the hair. But you don't want your stick to be straight, right? It should have a nice curve in it. If your stick is straight, it's way too tight, all right? And if your hair is touching the stick when you press down, then it's too loose, right? So you want to find that balance. So after you've done that, look at this page and let's remember, so that first note is on the first line and we're in bass clef, and that's G, right? And in a G major scale, we're hitting all natural notes except for F. When we get to F, we're going to play an F sharp. So G scale goes G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, right? So we've just got 1 sharp. And your fingering for this, 2 on G, open string for A, first finger for B, second finger for C, open string for D, first finger for E, fourth finger for F sharp, open string for G, right? And then you go back down. So 2, open 1, 2, open 1, 4, open. It's a lot to remember, but we'll go slow and you can see it on the page. So let's take this really slow. We're just going to play 1, 2. So we'll play in half notes, okay? And go ahead and play this with me as you hear it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, A, 2, B, 2, C, 2, D, 2, E, F sharp, G, back down. So good job for following along with that. Let's try it again, but a little bit faster, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good job. So I want you to practice that throughout the week until you get the next video, okay? So keep going back and playing that G major scale. Next, we are going to read the little piece of a song that I put in at the end of this. So we're doing a little sight reading now, which is a little tricky. So let's remember that quarter notes get 1 beat. Half notes, so the open hole with the flag, gets 2 beats, and a whole note gets 4 beats, right? So let's just look at this. Let's clap out the first 1, 2, 3. Let's clap out the first 4 bars, okay? So I'll count 1, 2, clap with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So on those half notes and whole notes, you got to really hold it out for a long while. Your first note is a B, right? So then you know up from there, there's 2 notes in between that and the next note, or like 2 spaces. So you can say B, C, D. You know, you can count in between notes to figure out which one it is. So actually, before we play this, how about you pause the video and try to play it on your own? So try to figure out all of the notes by yourself. So pause really quick. And when you're ready, we're going to play it together. We're going to take it really slow at first, and then we're going to play it a little bit up tempo. So let's start there. So this is after the scale, so measure 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you got that right, feel free to move on, but if you need another minute to learn that, feel free to rewind this video back to that spot and play along with me again. So now we're going to play it again, but up tempo a little bit. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Really good job today. Keep practicing this little song and your scale. And by the end of this week, send me a video of you playing this scale and this song. Good job. Bye.